Hello, welcome to another toneless landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today has the interesting title of Limited Palette with Green Demo. I'll have to come up with a better title, but it's a scene I painted before, but the reason I went after this is I had it hanging around, and after the series of limited palette demos I'd done, I wanted to do them when I wanted to do one that was no black and utilizing phthalo green. So if you are a person that doesn't want to use black and work with a limited palette, you really need the phthalo green, because you can see that dark color I'm painting now is a mixture of alizarin crimson and phthalo green, which gives you a color that's just about black. It's chromatic black. And interestingly, I'm a bit more zoomed out than what you're seeing right now, but you're probably seeing bits of greens. Like if I don't get the mixture exactly right, it will tilt towards purple, or more likely towards green, because phthalo is so much more strong a color than alizarin. I'd say twice as intense in chroma and intensity than the alizarin, which is a fairly intense color. So there's almost nothing on my palette that would be stronger than phthalo, or either the blue or the green. Yeah. Anyway, and I have only one of my Kevin McPherson books right now, and this is where I got this basic palette from. He, I believe, was using Viridian, but I only have one of his books, and not the main one that I was really looking at. That was Landscape Painting Inside and Out. I have Fill Your Paintings with Light and Color. Both books are excellent. I highly recommend them, especially if you're starting out. If you're not just starting out, they're going to have less use, but it's still, he's a really good painter. And I have to say, like, one of the things that I noticed when I was leafing through his book was like how less finished his paintings are than what I usually present. And I was thinking, well, that actually looks pretty good, and I think I'm being good, stopping at one color pass, but I do bring things to a certain level of finish, and I do my best to leave a lot showing. But let's talk a little bit more about this palette. So we've already covered one of the key ingredients, which is the phthalo green. The other colors in it are, I'm using, I believe I'm using phthalo blue, because I don't really like ultramarine, and we'll get into that in a minute. Phthalo blue just more useful, and I'm using cadmium yellow, and I am using light, which many times you hear it referred to as pale. I don't know if there is even paler yellow, but and white, no black. So phthalo green, alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, and cadmium yellow. So you get some decent colors with the alizarin crimson and the cad yellow. That's the orange you see there. Funny enough, when I'm looking at the work in the drying area, it's so obvious to me that it came from a limited palette. And I remember when I was first starting out, we had an excellent, I lived in San Jose, California at the time, but lots of times I would go to an art store in Santa Cruz called Lens, which is just an amazing art store. If you're in that area, you should definitely drop in. And there was, of course, people on the staff at that time were awesome painters, and would have some of their work in the store even, and I think that's since changed. Last time I was in there, it was just some young people, which were probably no doubt artists. I'm not saying they aren't, but and I had a little painting with me, and I showed it to the lady, and she's like, "Oh, limited palette." And I'm like, "Wow." And this may be the second or third painting I'd ever done, and I was like, "Well, that's interesting. How does she know that that's a limited palette?" And Now I know because I've got, you know, so much more experience under my belt. There's telltale signs of a limited palette. One is that there's built-in harmony, so that's a great thing. And I mentioned, you may not have seen previous videos where I'm talking about the limited palettes. We've been doing quite a few, and we're going to be getting to some other stuff in a minute that's going to be going on the channel too. But I think if you're a painter just starting out, a limited palette is the way to go, and this would be the palette I would recommend to you. Phthalo Green, Alizarin Crimson, Cadmium Yellow, White, and Phthalo Blue or Ultramarine Blue. If you like Ultramarine Blue, that's great. What I don't really like about Ultramarine Blue is there's just a tone or tint in it. And yes, I'm aware that there are various tones and different tints available, but I'm talking about your everyday French ultramarine, and I've had it from different suppliers, so it's pretty consistently ultramarine. There's kind of like a grayish undercurrent in it or something, and I think it comes in from one of the constituent elements. I don't know, and I honestly don't mind really, because, you know, I don't even really use tons of blue other than in skies, and lots of times, like I've said many times in the past, I could just as easily use gray. If it's surrounded by warm colors, it's perceptually blue anyway, you know. So blue's not a really strong part of what I do. One of the exceptions would be something like my ultramarine demo, which is, you know, me doing blue stuff. Yeah, and so if you are just starting out, why you might ask, well, why I think I should have lots of colors, because I don't really know how to mix colors. So if it's in the tube, that logic is absolutely 100% wrong, and this might be counterintuitive, I guess, but having a limited palette forces you to mix the colors that you're looking for. And one thing McPherson talks about is, in his particular philosophy, which again isn't really the way I teach, but he has like a bit of card, and he has a hole punched through it, and he'll put this up to the thing he's painting, whether it's reference on the computer or a photograph or a scene in nature, and he'll identify that color and mix it that way. He doesn't worry about values, and I wouldn't say I necessarily worry about values. Values and color they're not really separatable, right? So I get his point. He's trying to simplify things, but I do think it's good to think of both value and chroma when you're mixing, and I do, but everyone's different, like I said a minute ago, and it's still true. Still true in this minute. But that if you're just starting out, you're looking, oh, I'm on YouTube, I'm looking for painting videos, I want to know how to paint. It's like, well, Uncle Mike says, go get a tube of Cad Yellow, Alizarin Crimson, a blue like Ultramarine or Phthalo, Phthalo Green, and I keep leaving a color out, white. Yes, you must have white. And speaking of white, make sure when you look at the white, even if you're just starting out, so many suppliers put out what they call titanium white, but when you look at the back, it's not pure titanium white, it's titanium white with zinc. And the reason for this is because titanium white is extremely opaque and somewhat difficult to work with. Adding zinc paint to it makes it a lot easier to work with. It's a lot easier to handle. Unfortunately, zinc, even in small quantities, has a high propensity to crack. So this is a bit of a crime that they're perpetrating on people, and maybe you'll be lucky, you'll be the one whose painting doesn't crack. But that would be really sad if it did happen to you, because you wouldn't be expecting it. You wouldn't know that this is something that could happen, and it can happen, and it does happen. Just type in zinc cracked paintings into Google, and you could spend a day reading about all the reasons why and all the people that have had it happen to them in paintings that weren't even that old. It's extremely brittle. It's not suitable for anything except watercolor. Okay, so we went to a little bit of a rabbit hole there, but I'm here to distribute information. So what colors did I miss as I was painting this? Well, I really missed yellow ochre. I had to mix it. I really missed orange. I had to mix one of those. And you can see part of my strategy, which I haven't, now we're almost through the video, but if you're really keen on knowing more about this, you should spend the $6 that will get you into the membership area, where you can watch the live version of this, where I break everything down and you get to see my struggle blow by blow as I am actually mixing colors. So things go flying by pretty rapidly here, but that's real time. Which on one hand you could go, oh my goodness, I don't really want to spend 2 hours watching Mike paint, but would you take a lesson with me if I was in your town? Would you? You probably would. This is what I do with my students. We paint together, right? Sometimes I work on their paintings, but most often they're doing a painting, I'm doing a painting, we're doing a painting together. And you're welcome to follow along. And yeah, so I'm on a limited palette kick, and what I've done, what I'm into right now was very much inspired by the Ultramarine demo. What I did there was something I don't think I've even done before, which is one color, black and white. It's the first time, like when I've done the blue thing, I've always had cobalt and phthalo, and sometimes a bit of dioxine purple as well. So I was doing something that was blue tinted, but it wasn't just a pure exploration of the color, and I thought it was super valuable. And so I'm going to be doing a series of paintings all based on that same approach, where we have the base color and just black and white. And I've done two so far. I've done cat yellow, and today I did yellow ochre, and both of them came out really neat. And but I have to say, it was such a struggle, because I'm coming to terms, like I'm looking at the reference, I'm going, oh, I really want this to go browner, maybe I'll just slip in a little brown. But I'm like, no, let's just see how far we can take this one pigment, how much we can do with it, just white and black. It's been super valuable. I wish I'd done it ages ago, but there's going to be like, I don't know, 12 videos headed your way, so hopefully you'll find it fascinating as well. And when I do of course, the live videos will be there for members, but in the short versions, which plenty of members watch both the short and the long versions of my painting videos, because there's different information in each. What I will be doing is a bit of an exploration of that color, and that's something I love to do, is read about pigments and their history and applications. So look forward to that. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be pretty exciting, and of course we'll create a playlist after we're done. That'll be neat. I'm really excited by the concept, and I'm digging it. I'm digging it because it's forcing me to work in ways and do things differently than I would normally do, which, as you get a lot of experience, it's very easy to just fall into patterns and never change them. And I'm not into that. I like to stay in my patterns until I've beaten them to death, and then I'll change. Anyway, we're getting close to the end. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Tip on over to my website. Check out my store. Maybe buy a painting if you could. That would be awesome. There's some good ones there. Good prices. International shipping is included. And your satisfaction, as always, is guaranteed. Also, if you're getting some value from this channel, you can send me a donation or join the membership area, or at the very least, just click like and leave me a comment. Comments make me feel really good, and I really appreciate them. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. I'll be back real soon with another awesome video for you. Meanwhile, please do me a favor. Take good care of yourself, your family, your loved ones. Try and love your enemies, and be patient with people who have different views from yours, and stay out.